Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the eSports Racing League presented by RaceVoice and Alliance Autosport. 2 weeks ago, our series descended upon a quaint little circuit in West by God, Virginia, where after 6 outings we named a Spec Racer Ford regular season champion, and while gaining some clarity in the MX-5 class after 5 of 6 rounds. Tonight, we head from East Coast to West and California wine country's scenic Sonoma Raceway. In its 52nd year of operation, this 2.5-mile, 12-turn circuit nestled in the mountains at Sears Point has almost 160 feet of elevation change from its lowest point to its highest, and in combination with its short straights and lack of heavy braking zones, passing will definitely be at a premium. It's a venue that no doubt will challenge our Formula V and our returning Mazda MX-5 racers as they battle in the last rounds of their regular season. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and by my side in the commentary booth, as always, is Brian Donati. And of course, we've got Apex Racing TV's Dennis Branch in the virtual production trailer, bringing you all the great views from this beautiful venue. So Brian, tonight we head into that final week of the regular season, and after a well-deserved week off, we have two champions left to name. Granted, those championships are all but wrapped up, but there are still a number of spots yet left to be claimed, and Sonoma is perhaps the toughest course this season in which to do it.
Well, I tell you what, Greg, you're right. As the championships go, it's just a formality at this point, but you're right. This course is really going to put these guys to the test. It's really going to make sure that they've got these cars set up the best, and if they want to pass. As you mentioned in the opening, ideally, the passing is going to be at a premium, and there's only certain places on this racetrack they're going to be able to get this done.
Yeah, there are only really two distinct, heavy braking areas, traditional passing zones, I guess, here at Sonoma. And we've raced here before in the RaceSports Racing League. It is, a bunch of twists, a bunch of turns, no long straights, lots of elevation change, 160 feet of elevation change total for the entire track, just 120 between turn 1 and turn 2. And it's just very tough to find your way around drivers. But as we've got our first group up, our Formula V racers out on track right now for their 15-minute qualifying session, let's take a look. As we mentioned, we did name a Spec Racer Ford champion last week, or actually not last week, but 2 weeks ago. We'll talk a little bit after our break about how that championship battle played out. But since we've got the since we have the Formula Vs on track right now, why don't we look back for Formula V, not 2 weeks ago, but 3 weeks ago, to Road Atlanta, where Jamison Huffman was able to eke out a win after running either nose to tail or side by side for pretty much 3/4 of the 20-minute race there from Brazelton. Jamison Huffman took the win. Caleb Patry and Morgan Burkhard got together coming through the last series of corners, coming through 10A and 10B, found themselves parked in the grass just by the Fox Factory Bridge, got things back underway. Patry came home in second. Burkhard came home in third. Charles Vaccaro was only about 1/4 of a second off of the podium. And so as we come into our final week here in Formula V, let's take a look at the point standings as they shape up right now. Jamison Huffman with 2 out of the 5 wins. He is sitting atop the leaderboard right now with 117 points. Then Morgan Burkhard with 86. And then you can see there a pretty good stack up with Greg Mack, Caleb Patry, who based on that finish, that second place finish at Road Atlanta, moved up 3 positions in the championship, leapfrogging both Mike Taylor and Justin Huffman. But you can see there, it's very tight between Patry and Taylor, and incredibly tight in the battle for 6th with Huffman, Effinger, Vaccaro, Jordy Fike, as well as John Casey, all within 6 points or so. So that's how things are looking there. And again, very tight, but right now coming into the last race of the regular season, Huffman he's got a distinct advantage when we come into this last race. Real quick, before we get on here, and we've got just about 5 minutes left in qualifying, and you can see now Morgan Burkhard sitting atop the leaderboard for the moment. He's your provisional pole sitter with an advantage of all of 88 thousandths of a second over Caleb Patry, and then Jamison Huffman only about 3/10 back from there. It is very tight there at the front, but I just wanted to talk a little bit. We'd been playing this up before last week. We had been doing it for a couple of weeks. Last week, actually, Brian and I just got home last night. We were at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Sportswear Club of America's National Championship runoffs, and we had been talking up that great eSports party that was hosted by Alliance Autosport, one of our great sponsors of the Ray Esports Racing League. And Satellite Racing was there as well. They had a sim rig set up, and they had a $500 prize, Brian, for the driver that could round the road course that the SCCA was running at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Whoever could do it the fastest, they'd give him 1 lap. Whoever could do it fastest would go home with $500. But more important than that, Brian, we met a lot of great folks that have been racing with us. We were just talking, we met we didn't meet Caleb Patry, but we met Caleb Patry's father, Sam Tully, who raced quite a bit with us in seasons 1 and season 2. He was out there. Lots of great folks came out to support the Ray Esports Racing League and SCCA Esports in general.
Yeah, it was a great time. I mean, again, can't thank them enough for putting that on, and to be able to sit down and watch these drivers, not only that were there racing, but to come over to this sim and try it. It was quite interesting and quite fun to watch. you know, watch them go through that and you know, try to encourage other people to do it. Typically non-racers got in there. I think there was a few that actually did quite well who were not racing. They were actually crew members of some of the teams that were able to come over and do it. So it was quite interesting to see and had a little fun with it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so satellite racing run by a former national champion in the Formula 500 class, Clint McMahon, and they have promoted a number of Formula 500 drivers from they have a program, what they call the Sim to Real initiative, which has brought along the likes of Sven de Vries, who is now, after this weekend, a national champion in Formula 500, and Ryan Mayfield as well. But our winner at Indianapolis, and you know, in the sense of giving full disclosure, we did not use iRacing because iRacing did not have the layout that the Sports Car Club of America was using at Indy. So I believe it was R Factor 2 that they were running. But Simon Sykes took home the $500 prize. And, you know, it showed that he knew the course. It was on Tuesday night after the first night of qualifying. Simon Sykes came home with a silver medal in the Formula F class. That is what used to be known as Formula Ford. And he took home the gold medal. He's your new national champion in Formula Continental. So we'd like to say that, you know, perhaps his single lap with us at the eSports party sent him on his way to a national championship and a near miss. But it was a great time. And Brian, I'm sure you'll concur that you know, we again met a lot of great people that are very interested in esports, and more importantly, we had almost 1,000 entries at IMS, and met a lot of great racers front to back, whether it be esports and sim racing or, you know, analog racing as they call it, behind the wheel.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, so we've got now just about a minute left to go in qualifying. Morgan Burkhard in the number 40 All Sports Racing machine. You can see him there in that green, white, and blue machine, very reminiscent of his mother's championship-winning Honda CRX. He is your provisional pole sitter for the moment. He's got a 152.07. There he goes, spinning into the carousel while he's on camera. You're welcome, Morgan, for the announcer's curse. And Caleb Patry trying to drive up the hill to meet the sheep at Sonoma, I think. Yeah, Brian, I didn't know if you know this, and I think I've mentioned it before. There is a group, and they are called the Woolly Weeders. They have about 100 or so sheep, probably not 100, about 4,000 sheep, and their job is to cut all the grass at Sonoma Raceway. Basically, they let the sheep go. They go up and down the mountain and what have you there, and eat grass all day long. So it looked like Caleb was trying to get up the hill there.
Ready to go party with them.
You got it. All right, checkered flag out on the session now. And again, it looks like Burkhard's going to hold on to the pole. A little bit smaller field than we were anticipating here tonight, but good to see in the field. He's been away for a couple weeks. Stevie Ray in the number 11 machine. There he is on course, and you know, of course, Stevie is the Ray in Ray Esports Racing. We saw him at Indianapolis this week. Hung out quite a bit with him, and of course, he was there to watch a lot of Spec Racer Ford racing there. He's got a lot of very good friends, including Denny Stripling, who unfortunately did not have the best of races in his championship race, but Stevie was he was happier than a pig in you-know-what to be out in Indianapolis watching a whole bunch of championship racing there that past weekend.
I thought you were going to say he was happier than the sheep up on the hill eating the grass.
Well, it could very well have been. All right, so we just had Joaquin Effinger. We saw him on course. We're watching John Casey right now in the number 78 machine, and it looks like he's a little bit off the pace. Again, checkered flag out. So we're going to have drivers here gridding up in just a few moments. It looks like a very nice day there in Sonoma. Dennis, you think you can throw up the temperatures for us here real quick? There we go. Look, and it's even as our own Dennis Branch calls in freedom units. They're 98 degrees Fahrenheit for track temp. Only 77 degrees Fahrenheit ambient air temperature, and I believe we try to set the weather up to pretty much emulate real life what it is. And of course, it is now just about 6 o'clock in the evening out in Sonoma, and so this time of year, yeah, you'd find the temps actually up around 75, 76. And as soon as the sun starts to go down, the wind would pick up quite a bit more, and the temperatures would definitely drop quite a bit there. As we've got Josh Soto. Good to see Josh out here again with us this week, driving the old Formula V. I've watched Josh run quite a bit in one of the Rickmotech series on Monday nights that I call with Larry McLeod, and he's quite accomplished in the MX-5s, and we'll see if he can put in something good here in Formula V. So I see Dennis putting it up on the screen here. Again, if you like what you see here tonight, if you enjoy week 9, round number 6 for the Formula Vs and the MX-5s, please go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Click on the subscribe button for Apex Racing TV and click on that notification bell so you can find out about all the great programming that we have. So tell you what, Brian, I'll take the grid here for Formula V. Starting off on the pole here tonight in the number 40 Apex All Sports Racing Machine, is Morgan Burkhard with a pole time of 152.079, 88,000th of a second off. Caleb Patry in the number 98 machine. He will make up the outside of row number 1. Jamison Huffman, that's Morgan's teammate, only 3,800ths back off the pole in the number 89 machine. He will start on the inside of row 2, while Greg Mack in the Team eSport Racer entry will start on the outside of row number 2 in car number 2. Stevie Ray will start 5th in the number 11 car, with Jordy Fike starting in 6th. Then we move back to row number 4. Don't believe the hype or the name. It's not Pushitaya Pravda. It is Austin Knight, who will be starting on the inside of row number 4, with Mark Santana in the number 222 machine starting right next to him. Then in row number 5, it's Josh Soto in the number 8 entry, with John Casey right next to him in the number 78 car. And then we've got Joaquin Effinger. He'll start 11th tonight in the number 700 machine. As the pace car now starting to lead the field off. And Brian, we've got a fairly long pace lap here, so real quick, let's drop in a little mention of our great sponsor for Formula V. They've been with us here since the very beginning, all 3 seasons. That is RaceVoice, and they are, as I mentioned, proud to once again sponsor the eSports Racing League. Take your driving to the next level with on-track audible performance alerts with RaceVoice and RaceVoiceSIM. Hear miles per hour, turn entry and exit speeds, upshift alerts, and other performance metrics which are selected and configured by you, the racer. You can go faster with the speed of voice. And so we've got the field now making their way around the course here. Actually, this pace lap's going a heck of a lot faster than I expected, Brian. They're already heading down into they're already making their way down into the carousel here.
Yeah, it's like they are at, with that pace car there. They're probably at full speed for these.
That's right.
They're getting the tires warmed up, as you said. Track temperature is 98 degrees. It's going to be hot. It's going to be slick. They've got to get used to this right away. We talked about it in the opening. Ideal passing spots. Here's where 1 is going to be here, coming out of turn 6 and headed down into turn 7. You've got to get late on the braking, and you've got to get through that corner. You can get that corner and get off that corner out of 7, heading up towards 8, 8A, and up through 9, up through the S's. You could make a pass there, but if not, you've got to get back in line. That's the only way you're going to make passes here on this racetrack.
Yeah, and as they come through the S's now here, I mean, the one advantage that you have in Formula V, I guess, is that the cars are so bloody narrow that, if you get a good run, if you get a good draft, you might be able to make a move coming through here as well, this section of the track right here, which is turn 8A, and then you make the run down the car, the track bends slightly, you come back behind the drag strip tower there, and then you make the run down to the final hairpin over at turn 11, which this would definitely be a traditional braking zone here. And what we'll have to do, Brian, we'll have to check the over-under on how many times they throw cones up going down into turn 11, and those cones magically reappear. As our pole sitter, Morgan Burkhard, has the field, he's hanging back just a little bit. It looks like Patry nose up on a little bit as they come around. They've got the green flag now, and they are coming across the start-finish line as Morgan Burkhard is now making a great run from the inside is Jamison Huffman as we go 3 wide around turn number 1 and start that huge run up to turn number 2. Again, 120 feet up the hill. Then it is another 50 feet up to turn number 3, and then you start dropping down again. As we've got Caleb Patry and Jamison Huffman nose to tail, but as they come out now of turn number 3, 3B, Jamison Huffman, he goes around. Caleb Patry, he's got the lead. Morgan Burkhart, Greg Mack, Stevie Ray, and Austin Knight as Huffman now has to recover. And it looks like we had another driver go off as well. I think that was Joaquin Effinger, Brian, as they come down through the carousel.
Yeah, but have to take a look at that. Let's go back and take a look at that replay. Not sure if Huffman had a little bit of help there. Right here, he's got the inside line, and then he gets pushed out a little bit wide, and I do believe he's left rear tire. A little bit of help there, but I think it was more because his left rear had gotten out on the dirt and on the grass and just caused him to be loose. But looks like he's going to be able to recover and get back into this race. Yeah,
I mean, the advantage, if he's not too far back, you can use the draft there, and if he's got the speed and can get back to the pack, he's got a good chance there. Did look like Stevie Ray got into the back of him just as Huffman was dropping a wheel there coming out of turn 2, probably coming out of turn 3. So let's jump back and here to live action, and we've got our leaders right now, and coming down into the hairpin here. It is Caleb Patry in the lead. Our pole sitter Morgan Burkhard sitting right behind him here as Patry takes it all the way out to the wall, tries to open up that wheel as much as possible, not scrubbing off any speed. Stevie Ray now moving up to 3rd in the number 11 machine with Greg Mack right behind 2x2. Then we've got Austin Knight and Jordy Fike 2x2 as well, and you can see there side by side Josh Soto, pardon me, and Mark Santana as we go up and we start it all over again with lap number 2 here. And Brian, you can already see almost 2 minutes per lap, actually a little bit over 2 minutes per lap here for our drivers. So probably going to be somewhere around 9, maybe 10 laps here in this race from Sonoma.
Yeah, as they start to head down the hill here, coming out, it looks like we got Stevie Ray going to go wide, and then it looks like we're going to have, that may be...
that was Greg Mack, I believe.
Greg Mack, yeah.
That went off in the number 2 machine. Yeah, there he is. He gathers it back up. Lost a number of positions there. We just had John Casey get by him in the number 78 machine, and another driver goes around. That was, I believe, Jordy Fike, who is sitting counter race just at the exit of the carousel. Indeed it is. So lots of action here as the drivers are trying to push those cars a little harder. Let's take a look at a replay here, Brian.
Yeah, it looks like, again, as we talked about, this track is hot, this track is slick, and if you just get on the throttle just ever so slightly too quick, you're going to do that. And it looks like that's exactly what Jordy Fike did coming down that hill, getting into that turn, into that left-hander.
All right, so let's go back. We're going to jump back on board with our 2 leaders, Caleb Patry, and there is the nose cone of Morgan Burkhard as they come under braking now, coming down into the final hairpin into turn 11. And we saw this before where Patry tried to open up that corner as much as possible, going out to carry speed. You can see just the opposite here as we look at Austin Knight, keeping that car all the way to the inside, probably scrubbing off a little bit of speed there on exit. And you saw that Josh Soto, who is now up in the 4th position in the number 8 machine there, got on by Austin Knight that last lap. And Knight, he's able to draft back up, so in the end maybe you don't lose all that much time-wise, but it certainly puts a lot more load on the tires, Brian.
Yeah, our front two leaders there, Caleb Patry and Morgan Burkhart, it looks like they're going to be just content to just sit and ride around here and not try to make any mistakes, as we saw early on by some of these drivers. Stevie Ray out there in 3rd, a little bit further back by himself, but then Joshua Soto and Austin Knight, those 2 will probably reel Stevie Ray in as we look at and reset where our top spot is with Caleb Patry and Morgan Burkhart. And it clearly does look like Morgan Burkhart right now is just looking to sit behind there and hope that Caleb Patrick makes a mistake, and now he decides that he's going to try to outbrake. As soon as I say that, he's going to try to outbrake down into 7. We talked about this earlier, Greg. That is a premium, ideal spot for passing, and Morgan Burkhart made it look really, really easy.
Yeah, he did. That is actually coming out of the carousel and making the way up. You touch the drag strip there for a little bit, then cut left, and the version of the course that we're running here is that big sweeping right-hander for turn 7. Great place to get that done, and I think Patry let Burkhard go, didn't really contest it any, because Stevie Ray, he's 2 seconds back there. If those two drivers went side by side, I don't think it would take much before the number 11 machine came up, as we've got Soto and Austin Knight in the 210 machine going at it once again, as they now come out of the hairpin, where Austin Knight has moved back around Josh Soto, and a little bit further back in the field, we've got Greg Mack in the number 2 machine. Of course, he had that spin a little bit earlier on this lap here, coming through with John Casey. And both those drivers trying to get back up. You can see there the red, white, and blue machine of Jamison Huffman, who started off on row number 2, spun on lap number 1, and he's trying to catch back up to the meat of the field here to see if he can start bridging cars and get back up to our leaders.
Yeah, it looks like Jamison Huffman's going to be a little bit quicker, I think, than Mark Santana. He may catch Mark Santana, and then at that point he could just utilize the draft from Santana to hopefully catch Austin Knight and Joshua Soto. That's probably pretty much, as we talked about, Greg, with the time, with just a little bit, just under 2 minutes per lap. It's not going to take much, and he's going to have to try to reel them in and get some help, no less, in order to do that.
All right, and you can see here as these drivers, they go through the double apex, turn 7, and Patry running a little bit wider there, but I don't think it really, the fact that he didn't get to the apex curbing there, I don't think really matters all that much. Again, he opened up the wheel nicely and was able to maintain speed there through the corner. And I was going to say, this might be, you may see this part of the track where these drivers may stay side by side, but it looked like Patry for a moment there was thinking about moving alongside of Morgan Burkhart. Again, I would, maybe give it another couple of laps there, but you'll notice this, we didn't see what happened there, but just in the last lap, our leaders picked up another 2.5 seconds on Stevie Ray. You can see Stevie Ray there just now coming out of the hairpin, and our 2 leaders really starting to open things up, that they may be able to start battling it out here, maybe a little bit earlier than either of us expected, Brian.
Yeah, I think those two are going to start to work together, early on in this race, with about 8 minutes gone by, to try to pull away from that, because they know that if they keep it close enough to where Stevie Ray could actually draft back up to them, that could cause bigger problems in the end. So I would assume Morgan Burkhart, Caleb Patrick, they'll work together. They've raced each other many, many times. They understand the significance of that, and as we say it now, Caleb Patrick decides he's going to make that pass coming down that hill once again, getting into the braking zone. Greg, one of the other things we got to look at here is with these Formula Vs, with this curbing and in these apexes and stuff, right about in there, that's pretty flat. Some of these other ones, they're not. They're rounded and somewhat of a hill. It will upset the car, especially on a hot day like today.
Yeah, and you can see, for example, right here at turn 7, again, and if you just kind of kiss them with the edge of the tire, you'll be just fine. But you can see here, heading into the S's, a lot of these curbs have pretty substantial rises on them. If you want to make your Formula V go flying through the air with the greatest of ease, I highly recommend running over them, but probably not the best strategy here to do that. But again, very flat in this section here as they come through the turns 9 and 10, back behind the drag strip tower, and they're going to get set up for braking. And a little tap from Burkhard. He gets in the back of Caleb Patry, and he's going to try the bump and run here, Brian.
Yeah, that was a little bit of bumper run, but I think that was obviously a little bit of a mistake there as we go a little bit further back in the field here now with Austin Knight and Joshua Soto. But look who's coming up, Greg. Jamison Huffman, Greg Mack. They each had those earlier spins. Jamison Huffman is about, I'd say, maybe a second behind Joshua Soto. So he is starting to reel them in. That's for 4th and 5th.
Yeah, and that last time by, almost a full second faster than either Soto or Jamison Huffman. So definitely with a run. And, you start thinking about it. Again, we're just now halfway through this 20-minute sprint race. And, at the moment, Stevie Ray's not all that far ahead of the battle that we're watching there right now between Austin Knight and Josh Soto. So, there is still the possibility if Burkhard, probably not Burkhard, if Jamison Huffman pushes it, he may see himself on the podium yet as we jump back to that battle for the lead as both Patry and Burkhard come off of the drag strip, go into the little track adjacent there and go through the double apex turn 7. And we'll see here as Burkhard for the 2nd lap in a row coming into the S's right back behind our leader Patry. We'll see if he maybe gets on the brakes a little bit earlier going into the hairpin. I think he was caught a little off guard. But here you can see here, even through the S's, Brian, the effect of the draft in Formula V and how quickly Morgan Burkhart through the S's was able to come right back up to the gearbox of Patry. Pretty astonishing. And yeah, you can see now Burkhart getting on the brakes a lot earlier.
Yeah, again, a little bit of, as I was saying before we jump back, maybe just a little honest mistake there. Didn't mean to get into the back of him. Decided to let him go, even though it pushed him a little wide to tuck back in. But you're right, Greg. Coming out of the draft through the S's and coming down through 9 and through 10 before you get to the hairpin there at 11, Morgan Burkhart's probably having to drag the brake just a little bit just to keep it up in there, as it looks like we still got another battle going on here with Austin Knight and Joshua Soto. Now, those two guys were running side by side coming across the start-finish line. That's going to put Jamison Huffman right back into that battle. So you're right. Depending on how quickly he can get by these two, last time by, again, a lot faster than about almost 2/10 faster than Austin Knight and Joshua Soto. So he is definitely reeling them in for that 5th and 4th place positions.
Yeah, he is right there. And yeah, I was going to say all it took was a couple corners for Knight and Soto to go side by side, and all of a sudden that number 89 machine just was able to suck right up to the back of them as they come through turn 6, the carousel here at Sonoma, and make that run down the drag strip. Very close, a 3-car battle now for 4th. And you can see here as Soto steps to the inside, going into 7, not quite close enough to get anything done. I think maybe, Brian, more than anything, that was a defensive maneuver to keep Huffman at bay.
Yeah, now all of a sudden you've got not a 2-car battle, but you've got a 3-car battle as Jamison Huffman looks like he's going to try to go inside there over Joshua Soto as they start to head up through the S's there. They'll be coming up on turn 9 and turn 10 here in a minute. Then we're going to get head in the braking zone. But Jamison Huffman makes really quick work of Joshua Soto. Now he's going to end up going against Austin Knight. Look for him to drag inside in the turn 11 and try to get past by Austin Knight, which it looks like he is definitely going to. And now Joshua Soto is going to try to follow Jamison Huffman through there, Greg, but he's not able to make that stick. So stick Austin Knight back down to 5th, move Jamison Huffman back up to 4th.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how quickly Huffman can escape this little battle, or if he can't, or if he cannot, because it's suddenly now turning into a 4-car battle. Sitting back, he's a couple car lengths back. He's almost, I think, about a 1.5 seconds back. But you can see Greg Mack in that number 2 machine just out of view. And the longer we've got Huffman, Knight and Soto battling it out for that number 4 spot, the easier it's going to be for the number 2 machine, who had his troubles early as well, to move back up. But I'll tell you, those 3 drivers, they would be well served to stop with the fighting for a little while and draft up to Stevie Ray so that they're all in the battle for the last step on the podium. All right, we're back on board with our 2 leaders. We're looking through the nose cone of Morgan Burkhard as they come through now that turn number 7 and head into the S's. And you'll see, I think from this view, probably be able to see the elevation change here pretty good as it's going to drop down here in just a moment as they come through 8 and rise back up again and then drop down.
Yeah, I was going to say, Greg, as they start to climb that little hill and then come back over that, that's where the car starts to get a little light in the back. You've got to be really careful there. If you're not careful, that back end will slide out, and I think we saw that earlier on, too, with one of the machines, and it may have been that's where Joaquin Effinger slid off there earlier on in this race.
All right, and they come through the final hairpin. Let's jump back to that battle for 4th with Burkhard, with Knight, and Knight had just gotten around Josh Soto, so move Soto now back into 6th. But all 3 of those drivers, they're starting to make up some ground on Stevie Ray. That last time by, Ray ran a 153.2, and Huffman is at a 152.4. So almost 9/10 faster there. Actually, all right, call me a liar. Make it 7/10 faster there. I hate when Dennis brings up real data that I can't lie to you all. All right. But yeah, they're definitely closing in on the number 11 machine here.
And even though that they're battling, Greg, you know, Huffman, Soto, and Austin Knight kind of right there, and you throw in Greg Mack, those 4 cars are going to be faster than Stevie Ray by himself during this. Again, we've talked about this on basically all the racetracks we've been with these two as we move back up to the front here between Patry and Burkhart. That draft is ideal, and this track does have some really good places, as we were just talking about. You need to have a drafting partner in order to get through there pretty quickly. So I do see where Jamison Huffman and Soto and Austin Knight will be able to start reeling in Stevie Ray here with just about, looks like maybe just about 2.5 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, not much time left here. Actually, about 3.5 minutes left on the clock here. This track, it ends up being a very different beast for the Formula Vs compared to, say, the MX-5s or the Spec Racer Fords, 2 other classes that rely very heavily on the draft. But for those cars, they're not that much of a fact. Oh, and we've got a big shakeup here. Well, not a big shakeup, but side by side now. Josh Soto, here's the big shakeup as Stevie Ray goes around in the hairpin from 3rd place. Stevie Ray now drops back into 6th, and he is now under attack by Greg Mack. Stevie Ray, he's going to drop back into 7th. That now is going to move Jamison Huffman for the moment up into 3rd. Let's take a look at the replay here, Brian.
Yeah, it looks like he just got into the hairpin just a little bit too hard and got on the throttle, and we talked about it. That back end of that car just came right around. Again, starting to feel the pressure from Huffman and Soto there. Had to get back on that gas as quickly as possible there, just not able to do it.
All right, so that now moves Huffman up in the 2nd. Josh Soto just off the podium in 4th. Those 2 drivers aren't done. They've left Austin Knight a little bit further behind now, so more like a 2-car battle for the last step as we jump back to the battle for the lead with just 2 minutes remaining. And now under braking going into turn 7. Patry does a great job of defending there, and you saw Burkhard, who, and as we've been watching here, we saw this early on going down into the hairpin, and we saw it here as well. I think Burkhard is fairly confident that he can go deeper into some of these corners than Patry does. The problem is that, it doesn't do you any good if you're nose to tail there, if you haven't stepped out any. But it might be something that Burkhard keeps in his back pocket if he can work his way to the front and use it to defend, as our 2 leaders now make their way down over into the hairpin and turn in. And Patry runs a little bit wide there, and you could see that the Burkhard, again, much like early in the race, Brian, keeping a real tidy line through that corner as our leaders cross the start-finish line. White flag. Based on the lap times, I think we're going to have one more lap after, or actually, no, that should be white flag.
That is the white flag that just came out. So this is going to be the last lap. But last time by there, Morgan Burkhart was able to back up that corner going into that hairpin. So look for that to be where that move is made, if it's not made out of 6 heading into 7.
All right, we're jumping back now, and this is the new battle for 6th position with Stevie Ray and Greg Mack. as they battled out the 11 machine, the 2 machine, as they now make their way up the hill into turn number 3. And again, Stevie Ray trying to recover from that earlier spin as our leaders come through the carousel for the very last 6. Let's see if Burkhard steps to the inside. Remember, he made this pass early on going into lap number 2. He's fairly close, but he's gonna hold off for a while as they go into turn number 7. Didn't think he was quite close enough, maybe didn't have the run out of the carousel that he wanted. And as they come now, start to make their way through those S's through turns 8, 9, and 10, he's probably going to leave it for the very last corner, Brian.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is where he's really starting to get his run up here as we talk about it. And now they're going to go side by side down through turn 9 and 9A there. Should be headed up into turn 10. Look for Morgan Burkhart to stay to driver's right there. Going to force Caleb Patry to go outside, which actually is going to, as we saw last time by, Morgan Burkhart, he may back up that braking part of that corner. Here they come, Greg. They're side by side out of 11. And it looks like Morgan Burkhart's going to end up right now going to have that advantage heading
with
towards that
one more corner. And we'll see here if Patrick can poke to the outside, if he can get by into the drag race and crossing the stripe, taking the win. Final time here in season number 3. Morgan Burkhard takes the win. Margin of victory there, 51 thousandths of a second. Austin Knight comes by, and it is a drag race down to the checkered flag, and Austin Knight gets around Stevie Ray. So big mix up here, guys, as Stevie Ray, who had been sitting back in 6th position, gets around Jamison Huffman. That also means Josh Soto had some issues on the last lap as well. So let's go and reset here. Burkhard and Patrick, your top 2. Austin Knight taking the last step of the podium. Stevie Ray, who was sitting in 3rd for so long, he works his way back up to 4th on the last lap. Jamison Huffman falls back to 5th. Then Jordy Fike 6th. Greg Mack finishes in 7th. Josh Soto falls to 8th. Then we've got Mark Santana and Joaquin Effinger rounding out the top 10. And that leaves just one more racer. That is John Casey. He just now crosses the start-finish line. He will come home in 11th. Alrighty there. That was, I'd still love to see, and Dennis, I don't know if you, before we bring them in, I know we don't have a lot of time, before we bring them in, if you know or can see what happened there on that last lap in the battle for 3rd, I'd love to see it. But in the meantime, tell you what, let's bring in Austin Knight. He finished 3rd tonight in the number 210 machine, and let's bring him on in.
Well, Austin Knight, congratulations. Last spot on the podium. We didn't really see it. Maybe you've got a better angle at it than we did, and actually we're going to show the replay here right now. Talk about how you were able to get up into that 3rd place.
Well, Soto and oh my gosh, Soto and I were really battling with each other. I wasn't trying to battle. We were kind of having this lazy Susans type of battle. You know, I was just drafted behind. He would let me by on the straight. He would draft behind me. I would let him by in the same straight. And, you know, when Huffman came by, he kind of picked up Soto because I had a little off-track excursion. You know, I like dirt. But, yeah, it was a very crazy race. They were pulling away from me because I'm not in their draft anymore. So I'm just watching this, and in the back of my head, I'm like, you know, Soto could try to make a move in the last corner, and he got a heck of a run. He just didn't pull out the last time. He actually tapped the back wheel, and I guess he just felt bad, so he stopped his car on the track, and I didn't crash into him. That was the main thing. And then I got into, I somehow ended up here on the podium. So, you know, this is nice.
Well, again, congratulations. Fantastic. Heck of a finish. Who do you like to thank real quickly for tonight?
Oh, I got to thank all my friends and all my friends at Letapal Racing, everyone over there. We just had our first race together as a team, not in a team event, but, you know, we had 3 cars entered in the Mazda Championship, which you can see on Apex Racing TV. But yeah, everyone over at Letapal Racing, my sponsors at Artesian Builders of some of the best custom PCs out there, go to artesianbuilds.com and use code Pravda_210 for up to $200 off a custom PC from Artesian Builds. And everybody here at Apex Racing TV. And I'm somehow doing this interview while driving at a qualifying session.
All right. Well,
there you go. Let's let him go by
that.
it.
Yeah.
and also maybe charge him a couple bucks for that ad.
They do.
Right, there you go. Austin Knight finishing third tonight in Formula V. All right, let's bring in now Caleb Patry real quick, finish second, and then we'll jump over to Morgan Burkhard.
Caleb Patry, congratulations. What a battle with Morgan Burkhart all race long. Quickly talk about that battle and talk about how difficult that was, because there was some certain areas where he was gaining on you, out there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely could tell he was quicker than me in some spots, and I knew I wasn't going to shake him with the draft, so it was kind of just, I knew I didn't really need to push that hard. I knew he was going to be there the whole time, so it was kind of just biding my time, seeing what he was going to do, and he smartly waited for the last lap to make a pass, and I tried going deep into the last corner, trying to outbrake him, but I ended up just overshooting the turn and compromised my exit speed a bit. So good job to him. It was a really fun race, really clean.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on second place. Who do you like to thank tonight?
Well, certainly Steve Ray for setting up these events, and RaceVoice for sponsoring this event as well.
All right. Well, we appreciate it, and congratulations again. Caleb Patry, your second place finisher. Greg?
All right, there you go. Caleb Patry, driver the number 198 machine, and hopefully I'll be able to drag him out of here. There we go. All right, let's go quickly to Morgan Burkhard, who I'm sure is trying to get qualified in the MX-5s. Again, Morgan Burkhard, our winner in race number 1 tonight. And I'll tell you, he's going to finish up with 117 points, just back behind his teammate Jameson Huffman's 133. So we'll finish second in the championship.
Morgan Burkhart, congratulations on that win. We knew we could see it, getting through turns 9 and 10 a lot better, able to back up that hairpin. Talk about that run to get past Caleb Patry there on that last lap.
Well, for starters, it was a lot of fun, and it was just trying to plan it out, trying to figure out where I was better and where he was slower. So I've noticed that in the hairpin, I was a bit better, so I tried to utilize that on the last lap and really maximize the run out.
All right. Well, again, congratulations. And who do you like to thank real quick?
Well, I'd like to thank Stevie and Greg for setting up a great league, because no matter how many people we get, and every week, it's just a lot of fun.
All right. Well, again, congratulations. Winner here at Sonoma in Formula V, Morgan Burkhart. Greg?
All right. Thank you very much, Brian. And thank you, Morgan. And congratulations not only on your second place finish in what did you finish second in? Oh my gosh. And you know what? I got the points completely wrong because I was looking at it in oh my gosh. Well, we'll recalculate the Spec Racer or the Formula V points during the break here, and we'll come back because of course I got it completely messed up. You are watching season 3, the final week of the regular season. That's round 9 of the eSports Racing League, live from Sonoma Raceway, and we will be back in just a few moments with qualifying and our second race of the evening with the Mazda MX-5s.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
All right, and we are back here at Sonoma Raceway for the final week of the regular season, Season 3 of the eSports Racing League. I'm Greg Ginsberg along with Brian Donati. And Brian, you know, I joke all the time, I can't do simple math in my head, and it makes it harder when I try to add numbers together and I'm using the points from the wrong class. So really quickly, I'm going to give you the top 4 because I didn't have enough fingers and toes to go all the way down to the top 5. Going to give you the top 4, how I think things played out in the season championship in Formula V. Taking the season championship with 133 points, Jamison Huffman with 2 wins on the season. Morgan Burkhard with his win tonight. That is his 2nd win on the season. He will finish 2nd with 111. Then Greg Mack holds on to 3rd with 91 points and then finishing just 2 points behind Caleb Patry with 89. All right, so we were now almost 10 minutes into the 15-minute qualifying session. Since I didn't make too much chicken scratch out of the Formula V championship, probably the Spec Racer Ford championship points, very quickly we'll bring that up on screen here. And your season champion in Spec Racer Ford, they had their last round of the season 2 weeks ago at Summit Point Raceway. Jamison Huffman, 117 points. Morgan Burkhard, 2nd with 92 points. Huffman had 2 wins. Burkhart had 1 win. Caleb Patry had 3 wins, won half the races in the season. He finishes 3 points behind Morgan Burkhart with 89. And then you can see only a single point back from there was Greg Mack and Jordy Fike sitting in 5th. Not all that much further back. So great battle there between Greg Mack and Caleb Patry. All right, so let's take a look now at the MX-5s. You can see here as we were 11 minutes now into the 15-minute qualifying session that Morgan Burkhart is your provisional pole sitter for the moment with a 146.47. Not quite quite as close here as we saw in the Formula V's a little while ago, but Josh Soto, who I mentioned, and I'll tell you that Rick Matek race, or Rick Matek series was an MX-5 series, and he won the open class last season, so quite accomplished. Josh Soto, your 2nd fastest driver on track right now, but still 0.6 of a second off of Morgan Burkhart. Jamison Huffman, third fastest, then probably Greg Mack and Jordy Fike. So let's take a look here. Last 2 weeks ago at Summit Point Raceway, where Morgan Burkhard took the win in MX5s over Jamison Huffman, eked out a win on the very last lap as those drivers were going at it down into turn 5 for the very last time, and Burkhard manages to open things up just a little bit down in the carousel over Jamison Huffman. Kyle Vallejos finished on the last step of the podium in third, with Josh Soto finishing in fourth, Greg Mack fifth. And if we take a look at the points as they stand right now, fairly close here. Morgan Burkhard right now, 91 points. He leads the championship, with Jamison Huffman sitting in second with 78 points. Burkhard with 1 win to his name. Huffman no wins. Andre Jamison he's with 68 points. He is sitting in third. Andre is here racing this evening. And then we've got Greg Mack sitting with 63. Interestingly enough, Zach Burke with 2 wins on the season, sitting back with 50 points in 7th. He has not raced the last couple outings, and it doesn't look like he is with us here this evening as well, nor is Charles Vaccaro. Vallejo, Burke, Vaccaro, all within 1 point of another. Real tight in the championship there, but again, a couple of those drivers not on course with us here this week, Brian.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Again, not being here is really going to take a big hit in the points, even further than what they are now, because some of our drivers that are in the middle of the points, they are here, and so they're actually going to gain those valuable points in order to move up into the championship run.
And so, we've been talking, of course, tonight. It is the last round of the regular season. It is not the last week for the Ray Esports Racing League. We are going to be back racing next week at what we're calling the runoffs. Basically, it's a winner-take-all championship next week at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We're going to have all 3 classes. We're going to have the Spec Racer Fords. They're going to join us, the Formula Vs, and the MX5s. That is going to be at our regular time next Tuesday night at 9. I believe it's at 9 p.m. I'll have to double check to see if we're starting any earlier. I do not believe that we are, but we'll get that squared away here in just a few moments, as we're now just a little bit under 1 minute remaining in qualifying. And I'm going to just double check. We still have the broadcast time as to be determined. So we're planning for that 9 p.m. time. But again, if you go ahead and smash that subscribe button and click on the notification bell for Apex Racing TV, we can notify you and tell you exactly when that race is going to be. So go ahead and do that, and then you will be probably more prepared than Brian or I.
At least. We may have to take a nap beforehand.
Yes. Actually, after tonight's race, I think I'm going to take a nap for the next 4 days, Brian. We all actually got to sleep in today. Yes, for the first time in a week. All right, so checkered flag is now out on the session. Looks like Morgan Burkhard is going to hold on to provisional pole, but Josh Soto and Greg Mack did close things down. Look at that, Greg Mack breaking out the flyer on his very last flying lap. He's only a little bit less than 4/10 off of Burkhard. It looks like he's going to move up to the front row, and that's going to move Josh Soto, who are watching right there now in the 07 car. That's going to move Soto back to row number 2. Again, I don't know how much that's going to matter, but Brian, again, even though the MX5s rely very heavily on the draft at a lot of race courses, as opposed to the Formula Vs, the straights here just aren't long enough for the draft to really do much work for these MX5s.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the correct braking points. We talked about this even in the Formula Vs, but we're really going to heavily talk about it here. As hot as this track is today and as hot as this track temps are, I tell you what, it is going to be, necessary to take care of definitely take care of the tires. As we're watching, I guess, Walking and Effinger wants to go up with the sheep and run over the sheep and jump the course.
Did you see that? He bounded over a tire wall.
He went completely up and over that tire wall like it wasn't even there.
That was amazing. Love it, love it, love it. Now, if he only saved that for the race, hopefully that one photographer back there in the gravel saw it. Somebody give that man a yellow vest. Yeah, all exactly. Right. So Soto getting in. Of course, he had already passed the checkered flag. I think he's not on a flyer right now. I don't believe.
He may be. I think he did get by the start-finish line before the 15-minute clock expired. So I think that he is trying to set this last flying lap.
Well, let's see what he can do.
Count, yeah.
As he comes out of the hairpin, goes through the final corner, turn 12, and comes up to start-finish. He crosses the stripe. Is he going to advance up to the first row? No, he is not. He did improve that time. Actually, you know what? No, he didn't improve. He turned in a 147.43, his best lap, a 147.08. So he's firmly there on the inside of row number 2. I mean, I only had 2 choices. Either he improved or he didn't improve. And, of course, I picked wrong as usual.
Well, we'll get ready here. Let's go ahead and give you the starting lineup here for our MX5 Cup. Starting on the pole with the time 146.475. In the number 40 is Morgan Burkhart. Starting outside of row 1 in the second position is the number 2 of Greg Mack. Starting inside row 2, starting in the third position is Joshua Soto in the 07. In the number 89, starting in the fourth position is going to be Jamison Huffman. Starting inside of row 3 is going to be the 09 of Jordy Fike. Starting in the sixth position outside of row 3 is the 210 of Austin Knight. Starting 7th is going to be Andre Jamison in that number 25 machine. Starting 8th in the 062 is going to be Greg Brockway. Starting 9th in the number 11 is Stevie Ray. Starting in 10th position is going to be the 700, and we just saw him climbing the tire barriers of Joaquin Effinger. Starting 11th on the grid in the number 78 machine is going to be John Casey, and starting in the 12th position in that number 73 is going to be Wayne Buttermore. That is going to be your starting field for tonight's MX5 Cup here at Sonoma Raceway.
And you know what that means, Brian? That means by the time they reach the start-finish stripe, Wayne Buttermore and Joaquin Effinger are going to be side by side, and they will probably be that way the entire race. All right. So we have the Mustang pace car now bringing Morgan Burkhard, who is starting from pole for the second time this evening. He will bring the field along with Greg Mack, our 2 drivers on the front row tonight. Jamison Huffman and Austin Knight with Josh Soto and Fike. And why do we see Josh Soto sitting all the way back in 5th position? As I think he needs to. There you go. Now he moved up. He just sat back a little bit more. He's going to move up through there, and he's going to start on the outside of probably on the inside of row number 2. I guess you can do that. We're watching the timing and scoring, which is showing everything in real time here. So it looked like he had just lost a couple positions, and not too concerned. He's not passing anybody under yellow like some other people we know. And
or try to pass.
Yeah, tried to pass. Yeah, Brian and I saw a great race earlier this week where a driver under full course caution passed 9 cars because he spun behind the safety car. But we've got now the field heading down, coming off the drag strip, going down to making that run into turn 7. And Brian, I think this one here, it's going to be, again, very difficult to carry speed out of the carousel and draft up to the inside. But if you can get the nose to the inside here, you can definitely set yourself up coming through 7, much like we saw Morgan Burkhart do very early in the Formula V race with Caleb Patry. But again, making that run out of the carousel and being able to get up alongside, I think, is going to be quite difficult here for the MX-5s. It's they just race here very differently than the Formula Vs do.
Yeah, these cars are, obviously a lot heavier. So, you know, getting out of that carousel and getting down into that heavy braking zone in 7, you've got to make sure that you don't slide the tires and you don't get on it to where you drag it, because even in the game, in the virtual game, you can flat spot a tire and it could cause a little bit of vibration, and that is going to be terrible for these MX5 Cups. It'll just ruin your day quickly.
There you go. All right, so the pace car is on pit lane and still carrying a faster pace than our pole sitter. And now Greg Mack sitting quite a bit up for Morgan Burkhart as the green flag is in the air. And I think Mack had to lay back just a little bit to get our pole sitter back up there. And you can see he didn't get a great start as the number 89 of Jamison Huffman shuffles in right behind his teammate, move him up to second. And now side by side, we've got Josh Soto and Greg Mack, and contact between Soto and Mack. They both go off coming out of turn number 2. They're in the gravel trap. That's going to drop them back to the back of the field. That moves Jordy Fike now in the 09 machine up into 3rd, with Andre Jamison in the 25 right behind him, that green and white machine. And right behind Jamison, it's Stevie Ray in the number 11 machine. He is back here again racing with us. Let's take a look at the replay, Brian.
Yeah, it just looks like 2 drivers trying to go for the same real estate as they came up the hill here, coming out of 1, going up into 2. Looks like maybe that, you know, Greg Mack ended up trying to cut that corner just a little bit too short.
Yeah, it looked like, you know, he was trying to keep the car down to the apex as Soto came in, and he drifted just a little bit out from the apex. He had a tiny bit more room there at the curbing, but those 2 drivers, they get together, go off, and they're still on track, but they are now quite a bit back. I think almost 5 seconds back from Joaquin Effinger, sitting in 11th and 12th, as we jump back to that battle for the lead right now, and actually a little bit bigger battle just back behind. This is the battle for 3rd with Fike and Andre Jamison, as they are now nose to tail coming through the S's. They're going to come back behind that drag strip tower and come down under braking. And I think at least this early, I wouldn't expect to see Andre Jamison try to push the issue with Jordy Fike. I think both of those drivers are rather experienced, and they should be working together to get back up to the teammates of Burkhard and Huffman before they both kind of scoot away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, they definitely got to be working together if they want to catch those 2, because like you just said, the 2 teammates, they're going to work together and they're going to try to pull away and then battle at the end. The one that could cause a little bit of a challenge there between those 2, if he continues to keep getting the run he has, when I looked out of watching them come out of turn 11 and head towards the start-finish line there, was Stevie Ray. He could push that battle, and that would cause Andre Jamison actually to push that battle with Jordy Fike early on. But hopefully those 3 can stay in line, because 3 of those will catch as we drop back a little bit further here. Joaquin Effinger there in the 700 is battling, just as you said, Greg, with the 73 of Wayne Buttermore.
Told you.
Buttermore got a little bit better run out of that last turn there as they come down the hill through 5 and through 6 in order to pull away ever so slightly.
It's like having fries with your hamburger. They just always go together there as they come out of the carousel. And now the 73 machine making a move on John Casey under braking, but looked like the 73 machine, he thought better of it. He kind of checked up a little early. I thought he would have had a real good run on the number 78 car, but got back in line. But great battle there, great 4-car battle for 8th right now as we jump back further up in the field. Again, this is the battle for 3rd on the podium. Jordy Fike in the 09 machine, Andre Jamison in the 25, and right back behind them, you called it, Brian, there is Stevie Ray right there knocking on the doorstep, currently in 5th position. He made up 4 spots at the start of this race to put himself in 5th position, and in, again, early days here. You know, not even 5 minutes, not even a quarter of a way into this very short 20-minute race, but he's already banging on the door for 3rd as the 2 teammates are starting, maybe they are starting to go at it now, as they've opened up about a little bit over a 3-second advantage, Jordy Fike.
Well, you know, I tell you what, we would look back up here out of the window of Jamison Huffman in that 89 machine. He does tend to get a little bit better run coming out of 1 and up through 2. So where it looks like he may be pushing the issue a little bit much, maybe he's just not. Again, we talked about it in our Formula V. Maybe having to drag the brake ever so slightly, not to lose the draft and not to maybe make a mistake there and have some contact with his teammate and our leader in the 40 of Morgan Burkhard.
And you can
He
see
goes
there
a little
is
bit
how-
wide there. Yeah.
he opened it up. So what I noticed there is both of those drivers, and there are many different lines that you can take going down. As Huffman tries to come, it looked like he might have just gotten the braking wrong. And I don't think that was an attempted pass. I think that was just lucky that he didn't take out his teammate right there going through 7. But there are a number of different lines that you can take through the carousel. In most cases with these cars, I think most drivers will take a very wide set, and then there is some apex curbing just before you get back to the drag strip there to denote where you actually kind of finally turn in. It's very reminiscent of what you do at the carousel at Road America. Or you could stick the car all the way down to the inside, try to hang on to the curbing all the way around. Whoa! As Josh Soto, as he's trying to recover and move back to the field.
That's actually Greg Mack driving the wheels off that car through there, trying to make up some of that lost time. He had just passed Wayne Buttermore the lap before, and so did Joshua Soto. But now it looks like that, maybe that is Soto coming back through there. Yeah, that is Soto. Sorry about that. I was looking through that earlier on, and I thought that may have been Mack that got through there, but it's not. That's Soto we're looking at.
Yeah, Mack is sitting right back behind him, and I'm sure he was starting to think, please don't let me collect Soto. Don't let me collect Soto. Soto put on the Drift King impression there. And now looks like Greg Mack, he's going to challenge John Casey coming out of turn 3 and making it down the hill into turn 4 and make that run down towards the carousel as finally Soto gets by, and now Mack. And here's where we'll see the difference here as they go into the carousel, taking that kind of wide set and then tightening things up at the end. Greg Mack has been doing it towards the very end, and you can see he finally gets down right to the apex of that curbing to the inside. Again, a very different line than what our leaders are using right now. But then again, our leaders are up on the rest of the field by almost 3.5 seconds as we jump back to that battle for first and second with Morgan Burkhard and Jamison Huffman as they come down through the S's now.
Yeah, a little bit of a gap there, about 0.5 of a second there, and that's because of the mistake, as we were talking about earlier on, where Jamison Huffman got a little wide, and he gets a little wide again there. Again, maybe just ever so slightly over driving the car to try to catch back up. And what's really happening there is you're kind of using more of your tires. We talked about taking care of the equipment. You've got to take care of the tires here in this at this track, because if not, they will burn up quickly and you will fall back further than you really want to, trying to catch up. So
All right, as they come on up, as they come up through 2, and you saw there Huffman with a great run up the hill. I think you mentioned it earlier as well, that Huffman gets a very good run up through 1 and 2. But as we saw, that car it looks a little bit more loose coming through the carousel, and obviously coming through, as we saw there, coming through turn 10, back behind the drag strip tower as he had gone off into the dirt. And you see here, and I talk about all the sheep that wander the facility cutting the grass, but there's not a ton of grass out here. You get off the track surface as Huffman does once again, and you can see all the dirt that goes up in the air. A lot of sand, a lot of dirt, not a lot of grip once you drop a wheel off the track surface.
Yeah, it'll definitely upset it. It'll definitely upset, again, we talked about the rumble strips there. We talked about the curbing. That will upset it as well, although you can get 2 of them over that and won't upset it too much. As we take a look back here, Stevie Ray, as he is starting to reel in once again, Jordy Fike and Andre Jamison almost within a car length and a half there. Is Andre Jamison up to Jordy Fike now, so we'll have to see whether or not Stevie Ray is able to catch them, but they are definitely driving the wheels off, and so is Joshua Soto and Greg Mack, as Soto now gets past Greg Brackaway, and I think Soto is going to come along with him.
Yep, there we go. Yeah, it's Soto and then Mack as they come down to into the hairpin, but we've got Mack to the inside, we've got Soto to the outside, and Soto ran very wide there. He did take out that cone, by the way, and I guarantee you that cone will be back when they come by this next lap. So move Greg Mack now up into 7th, drop Soto back into 8th, And then we've got Greg Brockway in that 62 machine sitting back behind him as we jump back now to what is the battle for third. And Jordy Fike separating himself out just a little bit from Andre Jameson. Jameson sitting in fourth in that green, black, and white number 25 machine. Stevie Ray, though, all over the back of him.
Yeah, Stevie Ray starting to reel him in. I think Stevie Ray just trying to be a little bit smoother. I think Jordy Fike and Andre Jameson were battling earlier on, as now we're back here looking at Greg Mack and Joshua Soto right there. That's for 7th and 8th. Again, Soto leading Mack, but those two have really worked their way through the field. Greg, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they even have enough tires left after this race is over, as much as they're drifting through these corners, getting the back end of these MX5 Cups really, really light.
All right, and there was actually a question from one of our viewers, Gary W., asking how you join this league. Gary, the way you join it, you have to either be a Sports Car Club of America member or a small donation to the Sports Car Club of America Foundation will get you in. And I'll tell you, if you want, you can send me email and I will set you up with the right people. You can send that email to Greg, that's Gregg, at Ginsberg, GINSBERG.org, and I will be able to, I'll be happy to get our organizers in touch with you. Again, this is the last week of the regular season, but we should be starting things back up again after the runoffs next week, and we'll be doing it in just a few weeks.
Greg, I tell you what, as we go back as our leaders now, we go back up to Morgan Burkhart. It's like a tandem group there. They both came up over the hill out of turn 4 and both went really, really wide through there. They were both collecting dirt, but now it looks like we're going to go side by side down in through turn 6. Whoever's going to get the better run out of that is going to head towards turn 7. Still does look like it is going to be Morgan Burkhart a little bit ahead of Andre Jameson.
Yeah, and you see it there again as Jameson has to punch the, probably not punch, but pinch the exit coming out of the carousel that time. Again, if he took a little bit wider entry, I think he'd be in good shape as he gets all of that curbing, pops that MX-5 up in the air, and you take a look a little bit further back. Jordy Fike, he continues off the pace of our two leaders. That last time by, Burkhard was almost a half second faster than Fike. Huffman about a quarter of a second faster than Fike.
Yeah, Jameson Huffman, I think, is really trying to run the tires off this car as Morgan Burkhart now starts to open up by about 7/10 of a second. They get into heavy braking coming through 11 and all the way through, and then that's where Jameson Huffman starts to reel him in a little bit, but it's Morgan Burkhart who really gets a run out of 1 and up into 2 and 3 better right now.
All right, as they come underneath the bridge there and make that long run up the hill, and I'll tell you, it's a lot more difficult running up the hill than with your feet than it is in a race car. I ran a 5K race here at Sonoma back in 2018, and it took me about 3 weeks to recover. All right, so we got Jameson Huffman. We're on board with the 89 machine right now, back behind the number 40. Our leader, Morgan Burkhart. If we take a look at the points, just going to remind everybody right now, Morgan Burkhart, he is your points leader with 91 points. Jameson Huffman sitting second with 78. If Burkhart wins tonight, he will absolutely wrap things up. The way the points are distributed, the difference between first and second is only 4 points. So even if these two drivers swapped positions and Burkhart finishes second, he should still come home with the championship. All right, so and frankly, Burkhart, I don't even think if he finished at the back of the field, I don't think he would lose the championship. But again, math is not my strong suit. Here as they come through the S's, and we're not even 3/4 of the way through this race. We've got just about 6 minutes remaining in this 20-minute sprint from Sonoma Raceway. And it looks like Huffman's fallen off Burkhart's pace just a tiny little bit that last lap. Oh, but big lockup.
You say that.
And Burkhart
he blew the motor. He has blown the motor.
Did he blow the you know what? He did. He is now back in the pits. Morgan Burkhard's day is now done, and now we have to do the maths. All right, let's take a look at the replay here as they come through the S's and start to make their way down toward hairpin. Yeah,
Yep.
you could see it there. I thought it was tire smoke, and I think Burkhard missed the shift, or he downshifted too early. And there you go. Morgan Burkhard out of today's race. Jamison Huffman, he is now your leader. Jordy Fike, move him up into second position with Andre Jamison third, Stevie Ray fourth, who we're on board with right now, and he's got Austin Knight all over his six as they make their way down towards the carousel.
Yeah, Greg, and we may need to start looking at the points because by my calculation, and my math is ever so slightly better than yours.
Yeah.
Was if they would have swapped that positions, it would have been Morgan Burkhart by only 9 points over that. If I did my math correctly. So again, we may need to look at that math because Morgan Burkhart will drop. Now it does look like Morgan is going to come out right now. He's in the 11th position. Coming back out over the walking Effinger, who looks like he is in 12th right now. So again, as we take a drop back here, we are looking at Stevie Ray with Andre Jamison just in front of him and Austin Knight just behind them. That's your battle for third, fourth, and fifth, with Jamison Huffman leading Jordy Fike by about 6 seconds over that for first and second.
Yeah. So if Burkhard finishes the night in 11th position, he would net 10 points. That would put him up at 101 points. If Huffman holds on to where he is, he would net 25 points. He has 78 coming into the evening. So again, with math not being my strong suit, that would be 78 plus 25. Yeah, that would be 103 points.
And that would put him ahead by 2. So again, Morgan Burkhart has to be able to try to catch the Wayne Buttermore and the John Casey machine in order to gather those additional points that he may need in order to have a shot.
Yeah, and as it stands right now, if Andre Jamison holds on to third, that would net him 18 points. That would move him up to 86, which would allow him to, that would net third in the points for him. But let's not get ahead of ourselves as we still have a little bit over 2.5 minutes remaining here. We are on board with Andre Jamison, and he does have Stevie Ray right behind him. And then Austin Knight not all that much further back. This is the battle for the last step on the podium, and I think we're going to stick with this for a while because there is almost 5 seconds between our first and second place runners here as Jamison leads Ray and Knight now down around turn 10, heading now under braking down into the hairpin. And you can see where Jamison for a moment there got a little, and there's a tap, another tap as Stevie Ray gets into the back of the 26. It's 3 cars wide coming out of the hairpin, and Austin Knight, he had a great run, but from the inside there, really had to crank the wheel in there, and you can see how much momentum you lose keeping that car in. And so Andre Jamison, he now retakes third spot with Stevie Ray and Austin Knight. Pretty much as we came into the hairpin is how we exit turn number 2.
Yeah, you get tight on that hairpin. There's no way you can get back to the throttle as quickly as you want. And you're right, just as you said, you will lose your momentum going through there. So it doesn't really matter how quickly you get through there. It's what you got coming off. And if you've got no drive coming off that corner, you're gonna go back because of the loss of momentum.
All right, so these cars, they are running lap times, and Jamison Huffman has been running lap times in the 147s. So, at this point, our leader, and we're right at the 19-minute mark, our leader should be making his way through the S's. We should get one more lap here at Sonoma here, and there is Huffman. Yeah, he should be able to make it around to start finish before this lap ends. Let's go jump back to that battle for a third right now, because it looks like they're mixing it up side by side now. Coming through the S's, we got Stevie Ray and Andre Jameson, and Stevie Ray now moves up into third, puts Andre Jameson now back in the fourth, and Austin Knight in the 210 machine sitting back, but I don't think Jameson is ready yet, ready to give up the fight as they come around turn 10 and set up for the hairpin here down at turn 11. And now Jameson steps to the inside, not quite close enough to get things done, but he's going to try and sneak underneath Stevie Ray, who pushes wide.
Wide and actually
Stevie Ray tries to avoid the wall, comes all the way back to the inside, taps Austin Knight, and then goes back to the wall. Stevie Ray, his day is now done. So that moves Andre Jameson on the very last lap. Let's take a look at the replay here, and as they come out of the hairpin, and let's see what happens to Stevie Ray as he pushed very wide. Watch this, Brian.
Yeah, just tried to get off the wall, had really nowhere to go, didn't realize Austin Knight was going to be right there next to him on the right, and just slammed into him, and then unfortunately that put him into the wall head first.
Yeah, and somehow Josh Soto managed to with bare inches go against the wall, driver's left, somehow got past the spinning Stevie Ray, and he's actually in the fight now for the last step on the podium, as we'll check back in with our leader. This is Jameson Huffman. He pops that curb over at 7, and if he just keeps his head down, he'll be able to hold off Jordy Fike for the win here, round number 6 in the MX5 races on the Ray Esports Racing League, as we follow him down and around, Brian.
Yeah, coming back down now through, looks like that is going to be turns 8 and turns 9. He should be coming back behind the drag strip tower there, coming in through turn 11. It's amazing how those cones have stayed there after every other lap. Comes through turn 11 through that hairpin, gets a great run off of there. Being to come up through turn 12 here, he should be crossing the start-finish line right here at the end of this turn, and it is going to be Jameson Huffman, your winner in MX5. Now crossing the line in second is going to be Jordy Fike, and we'll be looking for that Joshua Soto and that Andre Jameson battle.
Yeah, Soto, who snuck past Stevie Ray as he was spinning like a top. Josh Soto gets past Austin Knight. He gets past Andre Jameson, and looked like another driver joining the battle over there was Greg Mack at the end. So move Josh Soto onto the last step of the podium. Andre Jameson will finish 4th. Greg Mack 5th. Austin Knight drops back to 6th. Stevie Ray, he manages to limp that number 11 machine home. He will finish in 7th. Greg Brockway will finish in 8th. John Casey 9th. Wayne Buttermore finishes in 10th, and Morgan Burkhard here, he could have had it. He will come home now in 11th, and Joaquin Effinger, he is he's about a half a minute behind. He'll get there eventually, but Joaquin Effinger will finish in 12th. There he is, coming down, heading down towards the hairpin for the very last time. That, Brian, was one heck of a way to finish up a season. That was spectacular. Now I've got to go and redo all of my calculations. Actually, it won't be that hard. It'll be one less point to Andre Jameson. And because of the difference between Jameson and Greg Mack coming into the night, it looks like Jameson, he is going to hold on to 3rd in the point standings. He will just finish up with 85 instead of 86 points. All right, so there you go. All of our drivers cross the line. Tell you what, let's take a look here. You know, I'm sure we're going to probably bring in Jameson Huffman in a little while, but let's bring in some new blood here for a few moments. We're going to start off with Josh Soto, who finished 3rd tonight in the 07 machine. I think we'll go to Stevie Ray, and we'll talk about this season and maybe what's coming up in the future. And then we'll bring in our winner, Jameson Huffman. All right, first up, Josh Soto, driver of the number 07 machine. Brian?
Joshua Soto, congratulations taking that last step on the podium. I tell you what, it wasn't the way you wanted to start it, but you fought back hard to get that third place. Talk about that race and talk about what it took to get all the way up there.
Oh man, it was a heck of a battle. Got some contact with Greg at the beginning. I thought I had given him some space, but I didn't give him enough space for the inside. Got a contact, but yeah, after that we just put our head down and tried to catch up to the pack. Ended up catching up to I believe fifth or sixth. And there was a contact into the wall. I had to dodge that. But yeah, I mean, it was a great race overall.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on finishing third. Who do you like to thank tonight for getting you up on that last step in the podium?
I like to thank Greg Mack. You know, he and I like to thank you guys as well. You guys in your series. Steve Ray for inviting me to the series, and Greg Ginsburg and Dennis Branch and you guys.
All right. Well, listen, congratulations again. Fought really hard to get up on that last podium spot. Again, that's your third place winner here at Sonoma, Joshua Soto. Greg?
All right, Brian. Thank you very much, Josh Soto, and congratulations on your third place finish. Actually, I'm going to throw a little audible here. What we're going to do, we're going to bring in Jamison Huffman, who is our winner tonight. We'll bring him in, and I think we'll wrap things up with Stevie Ray, the Ray in Ray eSports Racing. So Jamison Huffman, driver of the number 89 Mazda MX-5, our winner tonight, and he should take the championship based on my probably very faulty calculations by 2 points. Over to you, Brian.
All right, Jamison Huffman, congratulations. What a fantastic run. I know you're sitting there in second place for about halfway through this race until, unfortunately, your teammate decided to possibly miss a shift. Talk about that run. Talk about early on where it seemed like you may have been overdriving the tires on this car.
At the start, I kind of wasn't ready for the car. I wasn't ready for the amount of understeer that we had on that setup for this track. It's not bad, but I wasn't prepared for this race as much as I could have. I definitely could have put way more practice in for this. And kind of was pushing off and also distracted because me and Morgan had a very weird comms channel in Discord. We were just having like a regular old civilized conversation for the entire race until eventually he lunged his motor in the final corner. As we were talking about that, I think a lap or two before, about lunging our motors into that corner, downshifting like we were in, like a V12 Formula One car.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, again, it's still a fantastic run, and again, by Greg's either calculation or non-calculation, that may put you up in the top spot here for this championship, but I'm sure he will go through that here very shortly. But talk about who you'd like to thank tonight for this run.
I'd like to thank my parents, first of all, for racing. They've been supporting me through this entire thing and can't wait to be in real cars the start of next race season. And teammates for always being there. I know we're going to have a few of each other in that racing school at Summit Point next year, so that's going to be a lot of fun, being there all together from karts to sim to now real life cars. You guys for putting this on, Stevie and Greg for making this league.
All right. Well, again, congratulations, and hopefully we do get to see you at driver school. Who knows? You may have Greg Ginsburg as your driver's coach. And we all know what happens there.
Usually they go to Pro Series and win, but or ask James Jost, you end up as a national champion in American Sedan. All right, all right, there you go. That was Jamison Huffman, our winner tonight, and by my calculations, and I showed that he had 103 points, so I had to use my fingers and toes like 5 times. Here, I believe he comes home with the championship by 2 points over his teammate Morgan Burkhard. 103 to Jameson, 101 to Morgan, and 185 to Andre Jameson, who takes home third in the season championship. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, and I'm sure we'll see you next week at the runoffs at Mid-Ohio.
Yep. Thanks.
All right, there you go. Let's bring in next Steve Ray going to bring in Steve Ray here, Brian, and hopefully he can talk a little bit about the runoffs next week, and maybe if there are any plans coming up for another season of the Ray Esports Racing League.
Hey guys, yeah, runoffs next week. We're going to run all three classes, our version of the runoff, since SCCA just had theirs last week. We've got to do something.
Yeah, we didn't want to compete with all 900 plus cars that they had showing up in Indianapolis, Steve. I mean,
yeah,
we didn't want to ruin their show for them. So,
yeah.
So we had to wait an extra week before we all head out to Mid-Ohio.
It was awesome though, our esports meet and greet there, and meeting so many people on the esports side of the house, the real racers that do it, and some of the other guys. It was a really neat thing. But yeah, next week we do the runoffs, and then we'll probably have a couple of fun weeks thrown in before next season starts. No definite plans to put out there yet. We're still working on tagging down some more sponsors and stuff, but we definitely plan on keeping this thing going.
Very, very cool. So Brian, it looks like you and I might have a job again in a couple of weeks.
There we go. What I'm talking about.
Well, you guys work so hard to get back so early to do this tonight. I mean, appreciate that. So we've got to do something for you.
Thank you. I think actually, Stevie, we got more than enough thanks talking to some of the great people you mentioned at the meet and greet thrown by Alliance Autosport last week at Indianapolis, and a lot of great folks that race with us here and in other leagues that we're associated with. And I was mentioning that I had even people that I didn't see in the meet and greet I had hanging out with me up on Spectator Hill at Indianapolis this past week that have raced in the Ray Esports Racing League in the first two seasons. It was great to put the names with the faces, or the faces with the names, or something along those lines.
Yes, sir. It really was.
Yeah, it really, you've really, between the SCCA leagues and this league here, done a lot to bring people together, and really appreciate it. And can't wait until we see all three classes on track at one outing. That's going to be next week at a virtual Mid-Ohio. Now, Steve, do we have a start time yet for the races next week? Is it going to be 9 o'clock, or are we going to start a little earlier next week? I
don't have the schedule in front of me. I think Greg Hubler sets that up to start just a little bit earlier, so we don't go quite so late. But we'll definitely put that out.
All right, so yeah, we'll get that out. And again, if you go and you subscribe to the Apex Racing TV YouTube channel, you can certainly get all the skinny. Go ahead and click on that notification bell, so we'll tell you exactly when the race is going to be. You can also find the Ray Esports Racing on Facebook, and of course Apex Racing TV, just one word, Apex Racing TV, on YouTube, of course, on Twitter, on Facebook, and also on Instagram. All right, so thank you so much, Steve. Really appreciate it, and also appreciate both you and Greg Hubler for all you've done this season to bring us another 9 weeks, and next week at the runoffs will be 10 weeks of great racing action. For Brian Donati, for Dennis Branch sitting back in the booth, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we're going to see you a week from now for the runoffs at Mid-Ohio. We'll see you then.